Well, hey there. It's good to see so many of you again. I'm your kindly old Uncle G, and this is the Retroactivate podcast, where we look at a classic LP that merits another look. My first taste of this week's recording had me wondering if Lou Reed had lost his mind. The year was 1984, and exactly how MTV became a good fit for rock and roll still baffles me. The song I Love You, Suzanne had beaten Bruce Springsteen's Dancing in the Dark out of the gate by 2 months. And here was the Velvet Underground's leader dancing and dating some gentrified woman in grandma jeans. Apparently, there was a better supply of cocaine than good ideas in the music industry circa 1984. This questionable single notwithstanding, New Sensations, the LP that it's pulled from, holds up as one of Reed's most unappreciated albums. The writing, while tight, becomes unpredictably magical in its detail, and the stories here remain unequivocally Lou's, even while echoing the classics. The title track, for example, delivers a protagonist shuffling a deck of confessions and affirmations before settling into the road trip that clears his head. He is aware of and working against his own negative views and the negative folks around him. He wants to stay married. He was arrested Christmas Eve a couple years ago. He values art and inspiration and ultimately takes off on his motorcycle to clear his head. While this is clearly the tale of a man's love for his Kawasaki on one level, the shared details of blue-collar life down in Pennsylvania near the Delaware Gap are inspiring. Lou ends up at a diner playing a hillbilly song on the jukebox while the locals argue football. He finds life beyond New York City's affectations, overhearing that someone got themselves married and somebody died. Turn to Me and Fly Into the Sun are as close as pop music gets to contemporary psalms. Each explores hope in a hopeless world, the later through defiance of gloom. As Reed sings, the earth is weeping, the sky is shaking, the stars split to their core, and every proton and unnamed neutron is fusing in my bones. I wonder why this track hasn't been taken up by church after church the way Edwin Hawkins' Oh Happy Day was. I do get that Turn to Me is a bit too acerbic to turn up in that context. This update of Lean on Me assures us that the singer will be there when our fathers are freebasing and our mothers turning tricks, when our best friend dies of something we can't pronounce. Lou captures the dark humor of our meltdown, promising support when we can't pay our rent, our boss is an idiot, and our apartment has no heat. Our partner suggests maybe it's time to have a child. With this sort of empathy, I have no doubt that Lou loves us. The shiniest gem in this particular set of tunes for me has always been My Friend George. This is almost Steinbeck, a buddy story with the lines between Lenny and George blurred. The tale starts, read in the paper about a man with a sword. That made me think of My Friend George. The tale then unwinds through memory and word on the street. The tale of the poet's friendship with a guy who is a brute, a bruiser, a knight errant, the linebacker to his quarterback, the Ben Grimm to his Reed Richards. George liked music and George liked to fight. And these likes lead him to Smalley's bar where he's wired up beyond what the singer can do to calm him down. He's in the process of avenging humanity's weakened core, claiming the fight is my music, the stick is my sword, and you know that I love you, so please don't say a word. Can't you hear the music playing? The anthem, it's my call. The poet gets one final glance at his friend leaving Smalley's bar for one last epic battle. It's as much a study in restraint as Hemingway's Hills Like White Elephants. and would be my favorite rock and roll short story if not for Ode to Billy Joe. On the downside, the record has that 80s drum sound that I can never get behind. It takes a detour into another of my pet peeves, namely the rock band's stab at reggae. But to be fair, High in the City is a solid song, and the steel drum elevates the track from the sort of Kingston chicanery that makes me want to leave the bar before the local band finishes its set. I've even learned to appreciate I Love You, Suzanne, and Red Joystick for the updates of the contours and Carl Perkins that Reed most likely intended them as. Lou has his Delmore Schwartz side, but he has always had that grill-building song peddler piece intact as well. So again, it's been swell, but the swelling went down. I'll be back next month with more on the music that built and then threatened to destroy and then had a tickle fight with this great nation of ours. Be sure to subscribe. I don't want to miss you next time. This has been your kindly old Uncle G for the Retroactivate podcast. Until next month, stay strange, people.